It's not my fault that I happen to be a self-made billionaire. You think you know Vince McMahon, the billionaire, the boss, the face of pro wrestling for decades, but what if the most shocking part of his legacy wasn't in the ring but behind a locked garage door on his private estate? For years rumors swirled, covered shapes, restricted access, a vault no one talked about, and then someone finally stepped inside. What they found left everyone speechless. Stick around, because once you see what's inside Vince's garage, you'll never look at him the same way again. Mysterious doors. The mysterious doors. It sits at the edge of a vast private estate in Greenwich, Connecticut. A long winding driveway shaded by oak trees and flanked by tall hedges leads to a set of imposing metal doors taller than any standard garage and wide enough to swallow a box truck. Most people pass by without giving it a second thought, but behind those doors, under layers of dust and secrecy, is something that has stirred the curiosity of fans, insiders, and even former employees. This is when word started to circulate among collectors, journalists, and even former WWE employees that Vince Kennedy McMahon, the man who brought professional wrestling into the mainstream of the world, might have something worth more than $1. It was because of his notoriously private and extravagant lifestyle. On TV, he is a showman. For years, even those close to Vince were unaware of what exactly he kept behind those garage doors. Former employees described a long, low structure next to the main house with no windows and 2 steel roll-up doors. According to someone who visited the estate during a property walkthrough in the late 2000s, what makes this so compelling isn't just the potential price tag, but the silence surrounding it. Unlike other celebrities who flaunt their cars on social media or roll up to award shows and custom supercars, Vince has never been one to show off what's in his personal collection. The garage wasn't to be entered without permission. It was locked at all times, with access reportedly restricted to just 3 people. Covered canvas shapes, some long and sleek, others low and wide, were visible only through the briefest of glances. A groundskeeper who worked on the estate for nearly 6 years told a friend who then leaked the story to a wrestling podcast that he once saw a transporter drop off what looked like a classic American convertible. He wasn't allowed to ask questions. Clues began piling up over the years. Paparazzi once captured a glimpse of Vince stepping out of a polished black SUV with matte rims that led to speculation he might have been hiding a fleet of high-end vehicles. In 2016, a journalist from Notorious reported hearing from a former WWE executive that Vince had quietly purchased a pair of rare collector cars at auction. No photos, no confirmation, just whispered names and absurd price estimates. And yet, despite all the second-hand accounts and vague online certain, what was really behind those doors? Was it just a few company limos and a couple of classic cars gathering dust, or was it something bigger, maybe even a full-scale private collection? As time passed and Vince moved further away from the public spotlight, the mystery only grew, especially after he began transitioning power within WWE, handing over more operational control and stepping back from regular appearances. Some began to wonder if the garage was less a collection and more a personal vault, his own curated museum of status, performance, and legacy. Fans on Reddit forums started compiling every known sighting, every offhand comment made in interviews, every satellite photo that showed the garage from above. Threads titled, "What's in Vince's Garage?" would regularly trend in wrestling fan communities. One theory suggested he owned a decommissioned WWE production truck customized into a mobile lounge. Another suggested he kept memorabilia inside classic muscle cars once destroyed in WWE storylines, maybe even the infamous limo that was blown up on live TV in 2007. That last theory was quickly debunked. However, the notion that there was something legendary behind those steel doors persisted, and in late 2024, the rumors grew stronger. When asked, in a rare interview in 2023, if he was a car guy, he simply smiled and said, "I like performance." That was all that was said. According to a former Hall of Famer, a personal assistant from the early 2000s, and a close friend who once visited during a 4th of July party, only a few people entered his garage. None of them ever spoke on camera, but those who did say that they were all left feeling very impressed. What's inside is a straightforward question that has sparked rumors, podcasts, and even amateur drone flyovers. Until recently, no one knew the answer, but that is about to change, because someone finally opened the door, and what they discovered inside Vince's garage left everyone stunned. Luxury meets performance. Once the doors finally swung open, the temperature shift was immediate. The cool, still air inside contrasted with the summer heat outside, and what lay ahead was the beginning of an inventory that could only be described as controlled chaos. Polished concrete floors, industrial ceiling fans, walls lined with red tool chests and mounted memorabilia. But what stood out most were the machines themselves, some wrapped under custom canvas covers, others fully visible, shimmering in the filtered light like sculpture. Was a shell built for the effect. Several real limos were cycled through WWE productions, and Vince kept one as part of what insiders call his legacy fleet. The leather interior is worn but clean, with a small plaque above the glove compartment. Monday Night Raw, April 23, 2007. Next to the town car is a machine that could not contrast more, a Mercedes-Benz SL 600. This isn't just any SL class, it's a V12 turbo roadster from the R230 generation. Matte black finish, AMG sports package. Chrome accents are so clean that they reflect every inch of the garage's lighting. Grid under the hood, 510 horsepower and over 600 pounds-feet of torque, the kind of numbers that make even seasoned drivers sweat behind the wheel. According to reports from Notorious, Vince had this car shipped directly from Germany with custom tuning upgrades. It's rarely seen in public, but a brief shot of it pulling into WWE headquarters in Stamford appeared in a behind-the-scenes documentary in 2014. Just across from the SL 600 sits a Lamborghini Aventador. Bright yellow scissor doors open in perfect symmetry. This car isn't subtle, and the sound it produces with a 6 isn't either. The Audi R8 is a 2015 LP 7004 with a low-slung profile and a signature LED headlight design. It's hard to miss the V10 model with Quattro all-wheel drive, which shares engine architecture with the Lamborghini Gallardo but is wrapped in German precision. Black exterior, red leather interior, paddle shifters, and magnetic suspension. It's loud, brutally loud, and it can reach 60 miles per hour in less than 3 seconds, according to local reports, though no citations were issued. To a 2017 The Richest article was one of Vince's daily options when staying in Stamford. Then there's the Bentley Continental GT Super Sport. This car growls deep, heavy, expensive. A twin-turbo W12 engine rests under its long hood, pushing nearly 630 horsepower through an all-wheel drive system that can handle New England winters and summer road rage in equal measure. Unlike the flashier Aventador, the Bentley is subtle power. A gentleman's missile. Reports suggest it was purchased around 2012 following a surge in WWE's stock valuation. Whether that timing was symbolic or convenient, no one knows, but the Bentley fits its status, speed and luxury rolled into one brutally powerful machine. Throughout the garage you notice little details: a glass cabinet holding branded key fobs, a mounted whiteboard listing service dates in block handwriting, hooks along the far wall each labeled with initials. It's clear this garage is managed like an active fleet, clean, monitored, maintained. And then there are the sounds. Even when the engines are off, there's a sense of tension in the air, like these machines could fire up and launch out of the room at any second. The Lamborghini's exhaust tips glint under the lights. The Mercedes hood slightly popped reveals chrome piping and braided hoses. Each vehicle has presence, identity, history. These aren't just showpieces, they're tools of image, of power, of control. And this is just the beginning, because while this selection of vehicles would make most collectors envious, what was parked on the far side of the room, still under wraps, told a different story entirely. Something older, more personal, and far more surprising. What came next? The cover comes off. The garage had already given up its share of luxury and performance, but nothing prepared anyone for what came next. What they found in Vince McMahon's garage left everyone speechless. Sitting near the back wall under soft overhead lighting and set apart like a crown jewel was a silver Rolls-Royce Phantom. Not just any Phantom, this was the extended wheelbase model. Longer, more stately, and completely bespoke. Every inch of the car gleamed with polished chrome accents and hand-finished. According to insiders, Vince McMahon ordered this Phantom from a private Rolls-Royce dealership in Manhattan sometime around 2013. The price tag is estimated to be $450,000, but it may be higher depending on the options. This one has all the bells and whistles, including lamb's wool carpeting, a rear theater configuration, a champagne cooler in the rear armrest, and, according to a former WWE executive, a subtle VKM monogram stitched into the seat headrests in platinum thread. If you think this is crazy, there's more, though. The engine is a 6 Since Vince built his empire on loud characters and louder entrances, the Phantom is a quiet reminder of power and effortless, unapologetic control. Its 75L V12 engine can propel this nearly 3-ton vehicle from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just over 5 seconds, but no one buys a Phantom for speed. Instead, they buy it for its presence, silence, and what it says when you don't say a word. Exterior features hand-polished stainless steel door handles, a retractable Spirit of Ecstasy hood ornament, and self-riding wool centers that keep the Rolls-Royce logo upright at all times. It's the kind of detail that borders on ridiculous until you see it in person, then it just feels right. One of the most striking elements is the contrast between the ultra-modern, ultra-luxurious Phantom and the car parked right next to it, where the Rolls whispers royalty, the next car screams Americana. Bright red like fire engine red, but deeper, richer, and the unmistakable double side stripes in classic white. This was a 1958 Chevrolet Corvette Stingray, specifically a C1 model, original fiberglass body, quad headlights, white coats on the doors, and chrome for days. The license plate was vintage style with no visible registration tags, likely not road-driven for years, but even sitting still the car looked fast. According to multiple automotive sites including Notorious and The Sun, Vince purchased this Corvette at a private collector's auction in Florida sometime in the early 2000s. The sale price wasn't made public, but classic car analysts estimate its current value between $145 and $600,000 depending on condition. This one, its showroom-ready matching numbers: original 283 in V8 engine, optional dual 4-barrel carburetors, 4-speed manual transmission, fully restored but with period-correct materials and finishes. The white sidewall tires still had their factory-style redline detail. The dash featured the iconic twin-pod gauge layout, and the steering wheel was a restored original, thin, oversized, and unmistakably 1950s. But here's what truly sets the Stingray apart: its history with WWE. Longtime fans might recognize this car, or think they do. In 1998, a similar Corvette was filled with cement by Stone Cold Steve Austin during a now legendary episode of Monday Night Raw. That stunt car, according to a producer from the segment, was a stripped-down shell designed to be destroyed, but word has it the car used for the pre-shot exterior scenes was this exact vehicle. That hasn't been officially confirmed, but several photos from the day show a Stingray with matching paint and white trim parked just off camera. Whether Vince kept the car because of its screen time or simply because it's a beautiful piece of automotive history, no one knows, but here it was, alive, gleaming, iconic. The contrast couldn't be sharper. One car is European precision, reserved and aristocratic; the other is raw American swagger, all curves and chrome and horsepower. Together they tell you everything about the man who owns them. Vince isn't just a car collector, he's a storyteller. Even in metal and rubber, the narrative matters. The Phantom is a legacy, control, old money. The Stingray is an attitude, rebellion, raw charisma. It's no coincidence that these two sit side by side like opposing characters in a story only Vince could write. The lighting in the garage changes slightly as the day shifts outside, casting soft reflections across the silver paint of the Rolls and the red glow of the Corvette. Neither car has been moved in some time. There's no oil under them and no tire marks leading out. They're kept like artifacts, preserved but not frozen, ready if ever needed to return to life. The power behind the wheel, the power behind the wheel. By now the cars are no longer just cars. Each machine feels like a window into something deeper. You can't help but ask the question, why did Vince McMahon keep all of this hidden? He's never been shy. Steroid investigations, Vince always projected control, but this garage, it tells a different story. It's quiet, private, curated. There are no social media posts, no walkthrough videos, not even leaked footage from former WWE superstars who've partied at his estate. That's because Vince doesn't show power the way most celebrities do, not with selfies or flexes. He keeps it locked behind steel doors, only accessible to those closest to him. This car collection is less about display and more about ritual. It's a reflection of how Vince sees himself, not as a celebrity but as a figurehead. According to longtime WWE insiders, Vince has always been obsessed with control, not just over his company but over how he's perceived. Every camera angle, every entrance, every wardrobe choice, it all had to be approved. Some employees used to joke that Vince didn't like surprises, even if they were good ones. That same mindset is etched into the garage, each vehicle positioned just right, perfectly clean, maintained even when rarely driven. But there's Something else here too. Legacy. Vince didn't just collect random high-end cars because he had the money. That's what people with new money do. Vince grew up in poverty, raised in a trailer park in North Carolina by a single mother. He didn't meet his father, Vince McMahon Sr., until he was 12. That hunger to prove himself, to ascend, to never go back has driven his entire life, and it shows in what he's kept. The Phantom is the car of royalty, CEOs and world leaders. It says, "I've arrived. But more importantly, I belong here." The Corvette that's not just classic. In the early 2000s, Vince was offered the opportunity to appear on shows like MTV Cribs and Pimp My Ride Executive Edition, but he turned it down several times, claiming that he had no interest in turning his home or lifestyle into entertainment. "I'm not a reality show," he reportedly said during one pitch meeting. Americana is Vince's America, a self-made man's reward. The type of car you buy not just to drive but to own a piece of the country you fought to shape. It appears that Vince collects cars, but he always wants more. He has been described as obsessive, relentless, and even paranoid. If you view the cars through that lens, they become the anchors, fixed points in a world he controls, unlike wrestling, where results can be changed at the last minute. "I go to the gym every day before breakfast to review scripts until the last seconds before air." Storylines are vulnerable to injuries or politics. These machines are stable. They don't change, they don't talk back, they sit exactly where he puts them, and when he turns the key they do exactly what they're built to do. That matters to a man who spent 5 decades choreographing chaos, and yet there's a strange calm inside the garage. No framed championship belts, no posters, no branded memorabilia on the walls. It's not a museum to his wrestling empire, it's entirely scandals and storyline stunts. This is the one space where Vince doesn't have to perform. And now, as Vince enters the final chapters of his legacy, with power shifting inside WWE, the industry changing, and public perception more complicated than ever, this garage takes on new meaning. It's about what he held on to. The world may remember Vince as the billionaire wrestling mogul, the ruthless promoter, the on-screen villain, but this collection, the secrecy, the precision, the symbolism, says something else. It says he was always playing a longer game, because in a world where everything moves fast, where brands rise and fall, and where even the loudest voices eventually fade, Vince quietly built something meant to last. Steel, leather, chrome V12 engines and fiberglass dreams. What's next? What's next? The reaction was immediate as soon as reports confirmed the contents of Vince McMahon's private garage. Fan communities across the internet exploded. What started as whispers about a few high-end vehicles turned into a viral storm of stunned reactions, YouTube breakdowns, and Reddit threads dissecting every square inch of the leaked images. The silver Rolls-Royce Phantom and the '58 Corvette Stingray were headline grabbers, but it wasn't just the cars. And then came the question on everyone's mind: what happens now? Does Vince restore the cement-filled Corvette rumored to be stored in a separate section of the property? Fans believe it might be the same car used in the infamous Stone Cold cement truck segment from 1998. if it is the potential to restore and showcase it, either as a stunt wrecked. One former WWE talent even suggested the idea of an undisclosed Vince collection special as a one-time streaming event. To date, neither Vince nor anyone in his camp have commented, but it is evident that the garage changed the narrative after decades of speculation and secrecy. The mystique surrounding Vince's off-camera life just got sharper, because if this is what's been hidden away for all these years, what else is there? Let us know in the comments. A relic or a full restoration project could spark renewed interest in not just the car but the entire Attitude Era memorabilia.